Good morning on what is a warm, bright and sunny day. It is Wednesday the 22nd of March. I've got a nice hot cup of tea and a parcel to unbox, so let's find out what's in here. I've got the knife, had a knife. There we go. See if I can bum my way into this plastic. There we go. And again. It's sort of like black on a black background, so it's kind of difficult to work out. There we go, that's getting somewhere. Thankfully it slices open easily enough, but I just want to be careful of not cutting into it, into the contents. So there we go. All that black plastic comes away, and then I've got a box, and I have adventure role-playing game by Mike Polodger, Heroes of the Storm, Sword of the Great King. So, Heroes of the Storm, Sword of the Great King is an exciting role-playing game. It's about a band of rebels living in a secret camp deep within the forest who protect the people from the troops of the evil emperor. Robin Hood, anyone? In a role-playing game, each player has their own character whose story progresses from one game session to the next. In Heroes of the Storm, the characters can be knights, wizards, or even swineherds, all fighting against tyranny. One of the players is the game master who moves the story forward. Within the captivating story of Heroes of the Storm, you can solve riddles, flee from villains over collapsing bridges, battle monsters, and meet interesting characters. The designer Mike Polodger is an award-winning fantasy author and game designer. So, we have the box containing 2 guidebooks, maps, 6 special dice, 6 character sheets, and just to see if there's any. This is from Mindwarrior Games. And it's designed for ages 8 plus, 2 to 6 players. There we go. So I'm always interested in looking out for role-playing games that I've never heard of, and this is one of them. So I picked this up on eBay, or I found someone who was selling a copy. And what we've got inside is this. Let's just hold this in place. You can't really see very much because the map is on the top. I will pull that out first to show you. Here's the map. So it's quite a nice map, nice, clear, simple map to read. You've got a big city and connected cities, a road network, some rivers. You know, just decent terrain there. You have some nice green-coloured polyhedral dice. Those are quite nice. Show you the character sheets because they've got them. Oh, and I've just dropped something on the floor because you know that's what I do. Don't need to see that. Just a brown bit of paper. Those are the character sheets. So let me just grab the first book, which I just dropped on the floor. So brush that off. So that explains why my partner never lets me do any maintenance or DIY if I can't actually just hold up a box. So, Heroes of the Storm, Sword of the Great King, Player's Guide. So we've got sort of like an image of children playing this game. You know, essentially the idea, children playing the game with their imagination over it. It's kind of a classic sort of role-playing image, but again, nicely done. Now this has been looks to be a. I'm suggesting this is a Finnish, originally a Finnish role-playing game that obviously has been translated into English. And then an index and welcome section, and I bet that's the author himself. Probably sounds, it's the sort of thing it sounds like he would do, just there. And you basically got forward by the author, and then we have essentially prologue, A Flight in the Woods, which is sort of like an introductory solo adventure, which essentially a flight in the woods. It would suggest that you are fleeing. Obviously, you're fleeing from someone. You're gonna end up being with the outlaws. Encountering this villain, and seeing what you do against him, and then it's going through. You've got a turn by turn sort of like encounter with him. So that ends there. Then we explain the land of Narthar, which is the setting. A quick overview of that before we go explanation of the dice and the attributes. Dexterity, strength, endurance, instinct, intelligence, and might. How to create a character. So you've got different character types: knight, wizard, ranger, swineherd, Starlow, Whiskerling, Arnie. Hopefully find out what the ones that aren't obvious are. And then essentially it's taking you step by step through the process of creating a character. We've got 20-sided die, we've got 20 steps there. I mean, it's just sort of like, similarity of numbers. So here we have a knight. Wizard, ranger. So kind of classic fantasy role-playing character types. We do have a swineherd, though that looks more like a hog or a boar rather than necessarily a pig. Starlow, which is sort of like a beak-nosed giant figure. A Whiskerling, species between humans and animals, so we've got anthropomorphism in there as well. Arnie, the elf, elf-like creatures from a world outside this one, and then weapons and armour. So it feels all quite straightforward, fairly brief. We've got a nice image of sort of like someone having rolled up with a cart with all his wares for sale, and they're all if you ever look, sort of like all the items there are numbered, so you sort of like got them in situ, and you say, what's that? It's almost like you're going to you're actually going to the you're going to the cart yourself, the seller, and going, oh, what's that? And he'll explain, and you can just look it up, and that's him explaining. Explanation of weaknesses. Heroes have weaknesses before we get into the rules. So start off essentially. Starts off really. The rules start off with combat. Striking the enemy, ranged attacks, critical strikes, spells. Initially very combat focused, and then you've got rules in there for heroic abilities, other rules: hiding, sneaking, making camp, experience stars, and character development. So really, in just the actual game rules are really sort of like 1, 2, 3 pages. 4 pages if you include hiding, sneaking. Well, yeah, 4 pages. Okay. Then you've got experience, stars, and development. List of heroic abilities, feats of dexterity, camp abilities, feats, unarmed combat, ranged abilities, and so on. and then your list of spells. So we've got spells at grade 1 and grade 2, NPC Heroes of the Storm, and these are Sword of the Great Storm. These are some of the NPCs that the player characters may well run into. You know, Thelga Nettleshaft, Sarkhan, Boris the Wizard, and they're all members of the Green Hood, sort of the Green Hoods, who are the outlaws, as it were. And then we've already encountered him earlier, but here we've got him in full colour. This is Julius Pelorian, presumably the equivalent of sort of like the sheriff and so on. And then this really isn't necessary for the player characters up the player's eyes yet, but it will be. This is sort of like, you know, when you run into a particular encounter, the game master will say, look at that number, and here we've got sort of like a different number of illustrations and encounters. I'm almost like sort of like the dungeon S1 Tomb Forest, which comes with a booklet depicting each of its locations. So yeah, several pages of that. So that's going to sit there on the table between the players, and then we've got some images which aren't numbered at the back there. And then this list of crowdfunders. So that's the player's guide. Then we've got the Game Master's Guide, which is a bit longer. Again, we'll start off with nice illustration, and then the index. Well, the index at the front there, believe it or not. So, general game mastering advice, how to run the game. You know, the role of the game master, treating the players, creating the atmosphere, what to do next. And then things like passage of time, travel encounters, discovery in the woods, and tables and options for play. Hunting, and then we've got some NPCs. So Mortimer Gallows. That character there, the one who's actually, you know, he's the one with the cart whom you'll be making purchases from. Rules for making a camp, because that's where your base of operations. You're going to be moving around, doing things, and then this is page 12, and then you're into episode 1, Secret of the Ruined Temple. So essentially you've got the first adventure, player characters discovering this place in the woods and exploring it. What they might encounter in there, including a pine hog, and then return to camp. Episode 2, Search for the Hermit, and pretty much I think it's going to be like that all the way through. This is not sort of like game background and so on. This is just content you can play. So it's really kind of like a box set of scenarios and a mini campaign that you can play through. Before you essentially get down to the end, of course, it's covered in Return to Camp, the aftermath of the adventure. And yes, there is essentially instead of interesting here, what's happening is the player characters have a chance to meet some murder hobos. Episode 4, The Last Chance for Rebellion. We've got more important NPCs. There's a search for a lost city. And then episode 5, the lost city itself. Well, that's quite short, only 3 pages long. But episode 6, Grand King Valius Unifier. So yeah, that's before, of course, you've got an encounter with Julius Pelorian. Here he is in all his glory. and here's an image of the Greenhorns the Greenhorns camp. So yeah, that is Heroes of the Storm, Sword of the Great King. It doesn't say it on the front, but it very much looks to be like a starter set for a fuller role-playing game. Whether that's designed to be kind of complete or not is another matter, but it's complete in itself. I'm sure there's room for scope for development and so on, should the Heroes of the Storm full role-playing game, if it exists, comes out. I don't know at this point, because essentially I knew that this was coming, but I didn't know anything more about it. It just looked interesting. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you have, do please click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings in the Nook, where you'll see me out here in the Region Nook with a package containing a book or game, which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing in the Nook. Be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.